Hi, I'm Jake,
And I'm Michael,
and welcome to Big Fans Little Review.
a show within a podcast where we review everything we're fans of,
From the hottest movies, TV, video games, and so much more.
as long as it's gay.
And today we're going to be talking about the game on everyone's lips. That's right, it's Hades. So, Mike, why don't you tell me what exactly is Hades? Because you're the one who recommended it to me to play, you and every other person I've ever met.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. Hades is it's sweeping the nation. It's a very popular hack and slash style, sort of dungeon crawler, isometric action adventure with some slight RPG elements in there. From the creator Supergiant, who are really known for their super stylish, amazingly produced, very cool video games. It's got great voice acting. It's got amazing music. You know, a video game has good music if I actually went online and listened to the music after I'm done playing. Not so fresh and so clear. What is it? So fresh, so clean. What was it from
Yeah,
Kingdom Hearts?
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a,
not
that's right.
yeah, not since that have I actually been actually really into music from video games. But it's super stylish, super fun, and it's I don't know if there's like a style of game that it's called, but it's one of those games where you run all the way through it and you either have to make it all the way to the end or you have to start over
Yep,
from the beginning.
that's
Which
called a roguelike right there.
there you go, because it's much like Bastion, there, which is
Yes.
Supergiant's other big success game. But yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. People are saying it's the best game of 2020, which is it's a pretty crowded field in 2020.
Yeah,
We had like a
yeah,
pretty amazing year for video games. Terrible for life, great for
yeah.
games.
Great for games. And frankly, I'm not sure I agree it's the best one, but it's definitely top three, especially just for the
Yeah.
storyline alone. I was a little hesitant to get into this game specifically because I thought it was going to be this big Grecian epic saga where it's like betrayals and romance. And but for it was actually really funny and really chill. And the whole concept behind this game is basically you play as the son of Hades, Zagreus, and his whole goal is to make it out of the underworld to go meet his mom. And along the way, he gets boons and gifts from his extended Olympian family that has just realized he's existed, while also trying to beat out the other gods that exist throughout the underworld. So it's very Greco-Roman mythology mixed with a lot of like we've been here for thousands of years. We're going to be casual about how we fight each other, and a really like fun, witty, smartly written, and incredibly voice acted game. Like I don't know if there's awards for voice acting in video games, but I think this would like sweep the fields.
Absolutely. And it's really funny. It's written with a very modern tone, the way they talk to each other. It's very referential. Even like the narrator, it sort of breaks the fourth wall with his relationship with the narrator. And Zagreus is presented as sort of like a angsty kind of teenage son of Hades.
Mm-hmm.
And his relationship with these gods that he's never met, who are his extended family, is really interesting because each of them has a different take on wanting to meet him and how they feel about Hades, which do tie into the actual mythology, but without it being like you're just slugging through like a copy of the encyclopedia. That's a thing from before Google, if you are not in your 40s like I am.
Yeah, no, cannot remember and would not want to. But a big part of this game is truly getting through it. And each run to try to get through Hades that you do, you get to pick a weapon that you bring with you and that is continuously buffed and modified and enhanced throughout your run. It's different every time as part of the roguelike structure that every time you play the game, it's slightly different. So, Michael, what is your go to weapon when you're trying to make it out of Hades?
Yeah, so the weapon that I've beaten the game with so far, I've actually only beaten it once, but I've gotten to Hades like a whole bunch of times, of course. And the weapon that I beat it with the first time was the spear,
Mm-hmm.
which I really do like. It has long range and short range capabilities. And like you were talking about with the buffs, like they're everything from like passive buffs to like huge things that augment the entire way your weapon works. And there's some really cool buffs, like where you can go from having a spear that you throw away and then call back to one that you throw and it explodes, to you have a sweep move that you can turn into just like a rapid attack that just is focused. So yeah, so I thought that weapon specifically had a lot of versatility to it. And now I'm trying to play through with the shield is my set, because again, it has some long range and short range. What weapon did you beat it with?
See, I'm the guy who went through Skyrim and took a bow and arrow and sniped everyone from 1,000 feet away and never got into close combat. So I'm bow and arrow all the way. especially with a lot of the perks you get from specific gods. They really help in the later levels to help you get through it. And I also like the sword, to be honest. It's
Yeah.
your classic hack and slash. There's a lot to make up for with it, and I think it really does what you need it to do. But I also haven't fully beaten it yet because if I play it for too long, my whole arm starts to seize up. On the PC, it's a little intensive because I'm just like slamming on the WASD to try to get this thing moving.
Yeah, see, I'm playing on Switch, and even though it is a button masher, it's definitely my old bones. They feel every moment of it. I'm like turning into Skelly like as I'm playing it. But yeah, I think controller is the way to go. I can't imagine playing
Yeah.
this game mouse and keyboard or just keyboard. I think like that seems difficult. You need to get yourself a controller, girl, for your
I
computer.
just get a pro controller. It'll be good, especially because I want to spend a lot of time with this game because the characters are so well written and well
Yeah.
done. And I think a large part of why people gravitate towards this game is the characters themselves. So, who would you say is like your favorite god, or there's other non-god characters in this game? Who was your favorite, so to speak?
Okay, so my favorite god for buffs to get buffs from is probably Poseidon because I like the pushback. I really do,
Mm-hmm.
especially for the cast because there's a casting mechanic where you have like a limited number of casts that you have to throw out and recall, and you can give, of course, the different elemental or status buffs from all these different deities. And Poseidon gives buffs that have to do with knocking people back, which is really useful, especially in later levels where you can get really swarmed really quickly. So yeah, so I like Poseidon for buffs, but my favorite god is Dionysus because he's a dish. He just sits there with those big old thighs crossed and calls you hey and says hey man, and I'm like oh ring a ding ding.
He is truly the boy at the party that everyone wants to talk to because he hosted the party and he does have very nice thighs and just everything else. Everyone in this game is super hot. I think my favorite god as far as buffs go is probably either Zeus or Aphrodite. They really play well to the bow and arrow. Zeus, you can get extensions of your attack with like a chained lightning sort of thing, which is super nice. And that really extends your reach, which is even greater. But I think my favorite god to like talk to and hang out with, I'm really getting into Demeter recently. She
Yeah.
is the frigid ice grandmother that everyone knows. And she's the goddess of seasons, technically, but she's mostly oriented around winter. And you get her a couple runs in, and she's just fun to talk to. She's funny. She's like shady. It's very Meryl Streep.
Yeah, and it's really cool too because the character designs in this game are, not to use a word that everybody uses for everything, they're pretty iconic. Like, I think
Yeah.
people will be cosplaying as these characters for years, decades to come because they have so many cool details. They're really very unique and interesting takes on the characters. I've already seen so much fan art
Oh my
from
God. Yeah.
about these characters, so much fan art. But yeah, Demeter is very cool. She's definitely the person that you want to sit down and have a martini with and talk shit about the other gods with, for sure.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
just the amount of cosplaying that's going to be done when conventions are back. The whole concept that this came out now versus when Tumblr was at its peak. This feels like a game that would sustain fan fiction forever.
Yeah, definitely.
But did you like it?
Yeah, I actually really liked it. I really enjoyed it. The first time I played it, I was like, "What is this? Is the game everybody's talking about? Like this just feels like a game brand game." And until I really started to get immersed in the the story, the character relationships, I started to meet these characters and talk to them and hear the way it was actually written, that the gameplay became more addictive because I wasn't even as focused on that because I became focused on what was happening to me as I played through. And to just know that every time I play through, it's the up to the RNG gods of what kind of buffs you're going to have presented to you and then which of the three options each room that you get you're going to choose. It's really a different experience, and sometimes you make it to the end and you are not at all where you want to be, and sometimes you are desperate to get to the end because you finally got the buffs that you wanted, the combination of buffs that you wanted. There's also an element of there's a mechanic of keepsakes where it's such as an item that you can bring with you through the whole thing that can be leveled up 3 tiers that give you sort of a passive or active buff that lasts throughout the game. And then there's all kinds of other elements that you can change, from just visual elements to different ways that you can power up and heal between levels. So there's a lot of different things that change it as you go. And I've played more than you. I think I'm like 40. I think I've done like 35 to 40 escape attempts, I think.
Yeah, and I'm closer to like 15. But as
Yeah.
someone who has put hundreds, if not thousands, of hours into Binding of Isaac, which is another very popular roguelike sort of game, all based on escaping a dark underworld or going further into one, I definitely have become more ingratiated with this game. I think I, again, was a little like intimidated by the breadth of, I didn't want this whole extensive drama, but you really fall into a rhythm and you figure out these characters and it's like, okay, I'll just do one more run. Okay, one more run.
One more. Just
okay,
one
it's
more.
3 a.m.
3, just one
Right.
more.
Just one more. Just
Yeah.
one more. So
Yeah.
it's definitely addictive in that way. And I'm so excited to just keep going back and like keep seeing what new sort of combinations of weapons I can get. But also the story just keeps on going. Because I know even after you make it out of Hades, there's still more stuff to wring out of this game. So it's really got longevity for something that on paper, a run is not very long. There's only a handful of levels, so to speak.
Yeah, because when you beat the game, spoiler alert, after you beat the game, they really set it up for a reason where you would want to go and beat it again. And why, like, they finished the first run, but they set it up that, okay, well, you have to make it there again. So, and I know that the endings change as you progress, and I know that there's romance options that expand as you keep going through and have more interactions with people, because there's also a mechanic of gifts that you can give to the different gods if you want to deepen your relationship with them and get different items from them. So that being said, talking about relationships, on a scale of 1 to gay, how gay do you think it is?
So I think it's probably a solid 7. I think both for the content and the themes, the idea of escaping your birth family to find your found family, who may be your real family, like that is very gay in and of itself as a theme right there. But also Zag is bisexual. He has an ex-boyfriend and an ex-girlfriend, and 2 of the characters in the game that have existing relationships outside of the game sort of narrative, which I think is super exciting, and it's well written. I think it's for a game that is not relationship or dialogue as oriented. It is still a dungeon crawler hack and slash roguelike. It's not going to get much gayer than this, folks, frankly. So I would say it's a good 7, maybe 7.5 out of 8 out of 10. It's no Dream Daddy Simulator, but it's definitely up there.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not like, Rolando from, what's his name, from Dragon Quest 11, flouncing around on screen, who I love, by the way.
Of course.
But no, I would say it's probably like, I'd say it's a little gayer than that. I'd say it's like an 8, because I think Zagreus is a very much a character who has qualities that I really associate with gayness. Like, he is snarky. It is about his contentious relationship with his father. It is about his wanting to find his mother, to have someone to connect to, and about trying to figure out who he is, and about his past relationships. They also have Achilles is featured in the game, and his previous relationship with a man, which is also, I was about to say canon. I mean,
it is canon.
For myth, it's
for
canon in Greek mythos.
The Greek canon, yeah.
Of course. But yeah, I'd say it's a little gayer than that, but it's very gay. And if you're not gay, you're not going to be knocked over the head with it. It's not like The Last of Us 2, where people are going to be like raging on the internet because they're being forced to see that gay people exist. But we all remember that story. But yeah, I think it's really good. I'm really enjoying it. It's super fun, and it's really great. I say if you like any kind of action adventure dungeon crawler games, if you ever played Diablo, if you ever played Baldur's Gate or Champions of Norath, any of those even Gauntlet. If you haven't played games like that since then, it's very reminiscent of that, and with just a really cool, unique take. Great art style, fun voice acting, and amazing music.
Also, it's not a AAA game, so you're not going to pay the full $60. And these days, save the money you can get it. You can wring a lot of time and content out of this game. So definitely would recommend it. And luckily, that ends our first Big Fans Little review. So thank you for watching. We're going to do a lot more of these. And if you liked what we had to say, we have a lot more thoughts on a lot more things. That's why we have a whole podcast outside of the show called Thworp, a podcast for big fans. You can find it anywhere podcasts are streamed. And again, thank you for listening. My name is Jake.
My name's Michael.
And this is Pacho, who wants to be in this video so bad. Thank you for watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.